Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, we are back on League Unlock. Eric and Mark here for some LCK power rankings. LCK has, I'm going to say, not started in summer to how most people probably would have expected.
This sounds like the LCK summer pool party. Everyone's gathering in. Yeah, we got Hanwha Life coming through. Oh, Nongshim's bringing us some snacks. Things are looking good. And then all of a sudden, someone spills the punch all over the picnic table. It's not looking good.
And DRX, they go for the cannonball, but they have slipped on the way to the pool. You know, the gif of the guy stumbling through the slide and fall again. I don't know what's going on with them, but at least we've got a theme going now because, again, another week, 10-6, we are talking about the mysterious starts for DRX and Hanwha Life. Another combined 0-4 weekend, and we've got them in at number 10 and number 9, Mark.
Which one's worse? Which one was worse, Hanwha Life's or DRX's? You take your pick.
It's hard to choose because at least Hanwha Life almost gave you that taste of positivity. They get a win against Damwon. And then quickly after that first game, everyone's saying, oh, see, the Damwon roll swap's terrible. And then Damwon comes back and pumps them 2 games in a row, and you're like, oh, Hanwha. Oh.
And then that's Hanwha. And then you got DRX and the way that they have just been the entirety of this split. And it is so hard to exactly quantify for everybody how big of a disappointment this is because of what DRX showed us in the spring split, what the hope was for them throughout the entirety of the year and what we might get in summer. And it has completely changed direction from what they have been able to do and deserve it. And this is one of those ones where very deservedly so find themselves at the bottom of this power ranking.
They have 2 wins. They're 0-6, and only 2 of those series they've even picked up a win. So it's been tough sledding. I don't really know how to explain it with DRX. Hanwha, I mean, the top side has not even close to reach the level that we saw in spring. Deft continues to be one of the weaker 80 carries in the LCK, and Chovy looks checked out. He looks ready for 2022 to find a new team.
Yeah, that's the one that we're starting to really need to keep an eye on. The tilt is what you're starting to see from Chovy. And it's not just about, oh my God, I'm 5 minutes in and something's gone wrong type of tilt, which is still not the right type of tilt that you want. It's the type of tilt of, I don't even want to log into this match right now knowing what is up against me in this situation. You mentioned Deft and how he's been performing as a pretty much bottom level ADC in the LCK, which is really unfortunate because when you look at that lane and what they could be capable of and what Vista has been able to do beside him, you could generate something to at least be at the very mid-tier, if not better. And it just has not materialized whatsoever in multiple ways for Hanwha Life.
Kyria is looking over at his former DRX teammates and saying, how's it going, guys? Oh, me, oh my. Not so good for them.
The same. Hey.
KT is down a couple of spots into that number 8. Freddie Briand gets the win. The Freddy boys against Nongshim, which is enough to climb them up a couple of spots. We're starting to see shades of that hype playoff team that we were hoping to see.
Yeah, at the very least, as you said, picking up the win against Nongshim is very important for the standings and how things will go. And yes, the overall quality of play that we're seeing from the Freddie Briand boys is more so as we thought we were going to get for this summer. Maybe taking, a week, 2 weeks to get to this point back again. But if they can keep that momentum, that steady progress that they did make throughout spring, getting to talking about maybe playoff territory for the Briand boys.
And for Live Sandbox, after some of their impressive wins against T1, showing up against Damwon, showing up against GenG, a competitive 3-game set, they take down KT. They continue to, at 3-3, the same record as Freddie Briand. But Live Sandbox, what a bounce back from such a terrible start. They continue to be comfortably in that middle tier in the LCK.
Yeah, and it's going to be very interesting to see whether they can hold on, right? That's going to be the expectation, the question for Live Sandbox. I think when you're looking at what we have seen from Freddie Briand, things of that nature, of course, talking about hopefully that progress continuing with Live Sandbox, my question is how far can you take what you've already done, these overachievements, this level of getting those victories against T1, these type of things, how far can you make that run? How much mileage can you really get out of those wins?
And we'll see if they can carry it in and be that number 6 spot in the playoffs. The top 5 this week, it's a 70-minute loss and a 2-0 at the hands of Nongshim T1. It's time to get bumped down a little. They're still in the top 5, hanging on to that 5th spot. The problem is, usually when you end the week with the 2-0 against DRX, we could say, okay, that's great. You kind of saved the week, look good there, but not this DRX.
I think even in the way that they played, which was okay against DRX, I think that's the problem, is that you're not leaving this going, oh my God, they absolutely, completely outclassed, demolished DRX, which is almost what's necessary to have some type of positive feeling, even with what happened throughout the earlier parts of the week 4 T1. You said it, the results, the way that they were losing, the way that you played against Nongshim. This result against DRX does not fix to any type of degree that. It does at least stop the bleeding in the standings regard.
And there's still, a lot of the stuff is about macro with this T1 squad, but it's kind of also about their team fighting. It almost feels like it was 3 months ago we were talking about them demolishing Hanwha, then being competitive against Damwon, and it turns out demolishing Hanwha wasn't even impressive because everybody's doing it. So the positives aren't so positive as we initially thought for T1, which is why they're in that 5 spot. Nongshim, the team that 2-0'd them, still took 70 minutes, very back and forth, and they did have that loss to Freddie Brion, but it's just the state of the LCK that you can still put them as high as 4.
And that's really is what it is meant to be about. And I think that should be what international viewers are taking away when we talk about this, that yes, you still should have some respect for the LCK. Never lose that type of respect, and especially with the top teams that are going to be coming through. But realizing that, yes, this is also a region that does get the 4 berths for Worlds. What that means right now, you're talking about a team as a Nongshim capable team. And I think a lot of teams, rightfully so, around the world are realizing that, hey, that's about as good as you can hope for as someone coming through. So that is not exactly the same powerhouses and level of depth of powerhouses in the LCK as past years.
And talking powerhouses, you got Afrika at 3 because of that loss to Freddie Brion. It felt like you could put Afrika ahead of them, especially, I know game 2 against GenG, they got pretty slapped around, but that first game, they had a sizable lead. It looked like it was theirs. So more so than in splits past, we've seen Afrika at least play some good games against the big boys in the LCK.
I think that is at least, sure, Nongshim, there can be other reasons why you can be excited about it. But for the Afrika Freaks, one of the things they're holding on to at the very least is that capability, that, unquantifiable trait that is them being able to step up when the competition level is higher. And that's something that you can feel at least something hopeful for a team like that, talking about what they could do in a playoff situation and eventually maybe internationally. But still, we're talking about getting hyped about Nongshim and Afrika Freaks as a 3 and a 4 seed for the LCK. We're totally different. We're in a different universe now.
You're happy drawing either of them if that's your Korea team when you're talking about the World Championship. As we get to the top 2, I don't see how it's going to separate from here unless there's more role swaps come in the way of Damwon. They got the series win against Hanwha, even though they dropped game 1. It's still obviously Showmaker is not as good an AD carry as he is a mid laner. Canyon is not as good a mid laner as he is a jungler. That's the name of the game. They're going to be weaker with this roster than they were in spring.
Yeah, as much as we want to be excited about it, and as much as the novelty of these type of role swaps, the playing different champions, all things that go with it, as you said, at the end of the day, what they have been playing for so long, what they have all these practice hours, the mastery on, are these roles, and that's where they're off of them right now. And that's where, again, at the very peak, we'd be talking differently for a Damwon, but right now can't be talking that way.
And for GenG, this is the first time in years where now you're feeling like there's always been that Damwon or that T1 or the Griffin that you're talking about is, okay, they're that big favorite coming from the regular season. They're the big favorite in playoffs. GenG's, second, third, fourth behind them. But with Damwon role swapping, T1 struggling, this feels like it's the split for GenG to win an LCK title.
It does feel like the split for them, and the real question for me as I look at them and what they can do and how they can improve is how do you keep that competitive fire going when you're not really getting pushed nearly the same degree as you were from the level of competition in the LCK. We've seen this in other regions all across the world, LEC, LCS, excuse me, what have you. You have seen a top level team need to get that extra bit of push, that competition to put them to that next level, expose you to different strategies, different challenges, adversity. And they didn't get it. And then when you get to that international stage and you have to, completely unprepared. And that is my concern right now with GenG, with what we have in the LCK to challenge them.
Which usually it's not LCK as the region that you're talking about not finding that level of competitiveness. So it's crazy to be thinking that, they're going to drop a series to the T1 or DAM1 as it plays out in the regular season. Sunday is that DAM1 versus GenG matchup.
That's the one we got our eyes on, and that's going to be what's going to happen. I think that as far as Canyon, Showmaker, role swapping that you talked about, that's going to be the big one to me, because if you roll through into that matchup still doing that, well, that's what we're getting for the rest of the year. That's my understanding, that you wouldn't be changing it. But if we get Ghost back in for that type of matchup, you get some type of other change, sure. But
it's
right
a good
now,
test for the DAM1 guys if they are role swapping to be like, okay, Ruler BDD, that's a big matchup here. Can we even get close to reaching that level? Because if you can't, as Canyon and Showmaker, then you got to do something else.
Yeah, but I think, as you said, like at the end of the day, even with Canyon in mid lane, Showmaker down in bottom lane, this is a good DAM1 team. They're good enough type of situation. They're just not excellent. And that excellency is what you need to sharpen against yourself, right? You're talking G2, Rogue. Think about all the elite teams we've got in the LPL constantly fighting against each other. Immortals and Golden Guardians in the LCS. It's what it's all about, my man. But this is it in the LCK, and we're talking about GenG and DAM1. For me, I don't see T1 getting into that territory to give you that level of challenge yet.
Maybe not until playoffs, deep playoffs, or the regional gauntlet. We'll be talking about them in that category. But that's it today for the LCK rankings. Eric and Mark here with you guys. Thanks for hanging. Catch you on that flippity flip.